You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to yet again another live episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Live every single Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media accounts. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside a normal new host, Sean Sebastian. Oh, and...
Keith!
I got it! He got it. Uh-oh. What is this? Breaking news.
Breaking? What broke?
It's Super Tuesday, and a lot of results are in. That's right, we've got our Oscar picks, because this coming Sunday is Oscar show. Oh, man.
It's coming.
It's coming.
96th
It's
Annual
coming.
Academy Award Ceremony.
That's right, we're here.
We're getting so close to the 100th.
We always wait till the show before to give you our picks of what we think will win and who we want to win.
Yeah.
We're locked in. We've got them all settled. We've decided.
Yeah, we've decided everything.
We're going to let you all know what our picks are. It's our main topic of discussion tonight. We've also got a great Vices segment that's later in the show. Mm-hmm. But, of course, we got two huge reviews. Huge. That's right. Very bigly reviews. Very, very bigly.
Well, one's the big and newest movie on the
Yes.
block, so of course you can't ignore Dune 2.
No, you can't.
And then our final Best Picture
Look,
you can ignore
review,
that
Poor
Here-
Things,
here's
which
a-
I will. You will hear my review of the magnum opus of
yes.
Yorgos Sahelanthropus.
one. What?
It's Lanthimos. I'm just being
Okay.
facetious. I threw in a Metal Gear term.
Yeah, well, I don't even want to get started on that.
Sahelanthropus?
Yeah, I know. From MGS5. The weakest of the bunch. Anyways, but...
Well, this maybe that's a hint at the review. So
Well, I know...
weakest of the bunch is a good phrase.
do want to break the ice a little bit. Because it is our final... It's our final review of an Oscar-nominated Best Picture
Yeah?
film. And we've reviewed all the others. However, we normally do the bigger release first.
Yeah, that would be dumb.
And then we do the extra holiday
Yeah.
/ Oscar-nominated
Oscar.
review second.
Yeah.
Since we want to get all the negativity out of the way first, I think it's best that we review and show the review for Poor Things.
I would agree,
And
because
we
I
can
feel
have
like
our
we're
discussion there, and then we can brighten it right back up with our Dune 2.
I feel like we're going to talk longer about Dune, so it makes
think
sense
so.
to go last on that one.
So, without further ado, let's just dive right into it. Here is our review, our final Oscar-nominated Best Picture review of Poor Things.
I love it.
The time is near. We are less than a week away from Oscars. This upcoming Sunday, we bear witness to the 96th Academy Awards show. But before we get there, tonight we give our predictions, because we have finally seen all of the Best Picture nominees. That's right. This review is of the last nominee left, Poor Things. Because as the saying goes, we may have saved the best for last. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos and starring Emma Stone, Poor Things centers on a woman named Bella, played by Stone, whom is the deceased body of a woman reanimated a la Frankenstein's monster by Willem Dafoe, playing Dr. Godwin Baxter, a mad scientist archetype who goes by God. What sheer brilliant commentary on science versus religion and the hubris of creation against a non-existent deity. Soon, Bella, who has a childlike innocence due to a very clever twist in her reanimation that is in no way disturbing or perverse, will discover her sexuality, more specifically, masturbation. And it is here that the film begins to examine Bella's life, self-discovery, sexuality, societal norms, religion, philosophy, and socialism. It also co-stars Mark Ruffalo as a lawyer who will attempt to seduce the childlike Bella, while in no way being perverse and likewise earning himself an Oscar nom for the splendid and in no way unimaginative performance he gives. Poor Things is the absolute pinnacle of filmmaking, and I'm so ecstatic we saved such an intelligent, refined work of tourism as the final review. Lanthimos creates such rich commentary, full of vapid pontificating and meaningless drivel, that how could you not love it? It bolsters all the immoral, unedifying perversions of the feel-good generation, and highlights the utter depravity Hollywood continues to promote. It's no wonder the film has garnered such love and rave reviews from the leftist elites. The movie is everything wrong with Hollywood filmmaking in the modern day, and every destructive whim that is a rot to society promoted as good. Now that I'm done bashing the thematic elements, let's get into the other aspects of the film. The art direction and cinematography are indeed what you would expect in an Oscar-caliber movie. Emma Stone does indeed give a terrific performance, and Willem Dafoe is Willem Dafoe, entertaining because he always is, not because of any aspect of his role. Ruffalo is a turd sandwich wrapped in fecal foil, but nominated and praised because he's the good lefty who eats Hollywood's droppings and asks for seconds. The film is not devoid of any talent or aptitude, and the visuals, aesthetic, and even the most bizarre aspects do build neatly into the story and overall theme. It's an impeccably well-made movie full of the most perverse trash, not because there is nudity or sex scenes. No, perverse trash because its utter existence and themes only serve to promote a mindset that offers nothing decent, moral, or productive towards building up good men, women, or society in general. Poor Things is another example of the mindset that the only thing that matters are self-centeredness and one's own pleasures, and that modern society and religion oppress us by not allowing us the pleasures we should be free to find. If your idea of society is false freedom centered on chaos and perversions, then sure, we saved the best for last. For me, however, I give Poor Things a half star out of 4.
There you have it. Ooh. We indeed saved the best review for last, because everything you say in that review, I echo 1,000%.
It was one of the best reviews I've heard you do.
And it would have been like a complete bomb if not for, like, it does have good technical aspects.
That's the only thing I would get.
I like the cinematography, the production design, costuming, like all that stuff is, I would say, Oscar level. Like that's what you expect to see in an Oscar movie.
The overuse of a fisheye lens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so yeah. I mean, there's definitely technical talent there, but it's all utilized to promote just complete trash, garbage. Like I mean, and I know there's going to be defenders that will praise it, and be like, oh, you didn't understand. It's like, no, I understand. It's just it's garbage.
Yeah. Right. No. And I'm glad. I'm glad. Hearing it again without having just edited it for the review, it's very nice to just hear it one more time in a descriptive manner, because I think I'd sent you a text first and I just said pretentious drivel is all I put. I was like, it's just garbage. And I mean, again, I'm sick and tired of certain Hollywood types that parade around in not only being preachy, but thinking that somehow they're so highbrow and above the common fray that they can think on a higher level. And I'm like, no, there's nothing new here but just garbage that has been recycled into somehow being considered art. And I told Keith, I said, in the most, I would say, the most... I'm trying to be kind with some of my words.
Nah,
it's hard
to. It is. It's hard. It's hard. But basically, I just said if we were nuked as a society and someone found this left over from the society that was, they would put it in and watch it and they would find out, no, they deserve to be nuked.
They would understand exactly
why
we
were depraved and why we lost society as a whole.
For me, last year watching Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future, I thought this is the most pretentious garbage I've ever seen.
It was better.
And then Poor Things went and outdid it in every aspect.
Yeah.
I just I didn't think a movie could be more pretentious and stupid than Crimes of the Future. This movie was pretentious, stupid, and trash. Just perverse.
Sean, what about you?
I actually did give it 1 star.
Okay.
I thought there were hilarious aspects of the movie.
There are some funny moments.
I thought some of the lines were very, very funny. In fact, I actually said, I think I texted you, I was like, Mark Ruffalo has so many good one-liners. Like, I'd love to have these on my phone as ringtones or text tones or something, because some of these are just so freaking hilarious. Unfortunately, though, I tried to watch this movie the first time and literally just decided this is softcore porn and I'm going to turn it off. And so I did. I turned it off about to the point where she got to the whorehouse. And then, and I'm just going to say it, that's what it is. It's not a brothel, it's a whorehouse.
You're close to the end almost.
Yeah, and so I got to that part and turned it off. I decided I'm gonna go get some sleep. I'm gonna regather my thoughts, and then I'll try to watch this movie the rest of the way tomorrow. The next day, when I went to watch it, I realized I only had like 20 minutes left, so I had pretty much watched the whole piece of trash. But I just thought I have no respect for Emma Stone after watching this movie. I know she's an actress, but like when you put yourself in a role like that, if you accept a role like that and agree to do some of the things that she does in this movie, after coming from such, I would say, iconic movies like La La Land and things that are going to remain in people's minds, and then you make garbage like this, like I really did think of half of the movie as pornography. Like I thought it was terrible. I thought it was tasteless. I thought it was trashy.
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
And I thought what they were going for with a lot of the things that Keith mentioned in the review, including this idea of female empowerment being the fact that she can,
just sleep with
whoever she wants,
yeah.
and the man is supposed to be okay with that. And it's like actually at the end of the film when you get to her and her fiance walking in the park and her telling him like, I'm probably going to leave again and go have sex with other men and she says it without
she's moved on to women.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But she says it completely without emotion and without feeling, because she is completely deprived of what love really is. Well, and the dude's just like, I understand that. Exactly.
He's a cuck.
Yeah. Well, like every man should be.
Right.
Is what I feel like the movie was going for. And it blatantly pissed me off to the point where I was just like, I'm never going to watch this again. Nope. I would never recommend anybody watch this. And I can't believe the Academy put this. I can't believe they nominated this for Best Picture.
I believe it too.
It's garbage.
Precisely for the reasons you said.
Yeah,
because
it's everything they think is valuable and should be upheld as far as their morals
I think it caters around their new ideology and their new religious belief of this not only women's empowerment movement, but of ultimately, yes, we're supposed to be idly standing by and be parading her along at her real growth. I mean, the only two people who are really for Emma Stone and is the doctor, who even had his selfish moments. I don't know, taking a brain out of a child. And
that was another
woman.
issue.
But then also, his cuck of assistant who wants to sit there and act like, but I'm not supposed to stand in her way. If I really love her, I'll let her do whatever she wants. And then, of course, everything that she chooses to do, because it's the path she was led down, we're supposed to embrace it as, well, that's how she came to know and experience life to its fullest and came to the conclusion of just being happy in general. I mean, honestly, not only I completely agree with all of the viewpoints that you described that just made this not only pretentious garbage,
I thought it was gross
and tasteless, like you said.
Like, it's just...
I wouldn't go as far as to say I lost respect for Emma Stone, because in those same scenes as Mark Ruffalo, and to me, which
I feel like I'm just as culpable.
He's already lost respect for me from like years ago from being just a douchebag lefty.
I agree with that too.
But ultimately, I do feel, and I don't know Emma Stone personally, obviously I don't, but if I'm going to speak to the person that is Emma Stone before she was an actress and a celebrity, I would just say these are not the kind of movies you have to do to try to prove that you're a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to me, coming
She has a
so
husband and kids that
Right.
I would say,
Yeah.
if I was her husband, I would literally have to. I wouldn't want to make anything as an actor. I wouldn't want to be a part of anything. I understand there's films where you've got to cuss, you've got to say things, and you've got to shoot people and do things that you may not agree with. But at a certain point, you've got to look on your kids are going to look on this in the future and be like, I can't believe mom did that.
Right.
Unless they're, of course, raised to believe that that's perfectly fine.
And that's exactly
and that's
what
that's what I
that's-
mean. I guess when I
yeah.
say I lost respect, I don't necessarily mean like as a human being. I'm just saying she has to. Her husband is going to be. Well, I don't know who he is.
Yeah, well, that's the
I'm
thing.
just saying.
Look, to me, the thing is this is a blanket statement against all of Hollywood. But ultimately, I would hope that it's someone who has already, I think you had described it, a storied career, who's already made an impact in the industry, who's already been nominated before,
Yeah.
who's showcased on multiple different occasions her breadth of a portfolio that showcases her work to a large degree, a huge spectrum. To me, that is not indicative of what you then try to prove with this film and saying, but now I can reach outside of that even. Like, I just don't think there's any, worth to her or to her career moving forward. I agree. I feel like it was just, to me, it seemed like a move of, I'm going to do this because this is the Oscar baity thing to do. Mm-hmm. And even if she would say, well, no, I think it's challenging and I like the message. Okay, fine. You can give me all the BS reasons that you're supposed to give because you're hook, line, and sinker in with this crowd. But again, and this is part of the problem that I have with crap like this being out in cinemas and in theaters. It's just like, the best way I can describe it is maybe I'm just getting too old, but I'm tired of watching stuff and just feeling like I'm wasting my time. I don't have much more time in life. And yes, I'm only 33 years old. I don't have time because there's so much other crap out there to indulge in or to be entertained by. This is not entertaining. Yeah. This is garbage. It's trash. I don't see any worth in it whatsoever. It adds nothing to the culture or to society. It is just the epitome of what pretentiousness and what someone saying good art is or high value art is. And it is absolutely, I mean, you get to a point in the film where I was just like, I was not only bored, but you get to the third act when the woman's husband, Emma Stone's husband before she was reanimated, comes back into the picture. And I'm like, really? And then, of course, he's a douchebag.
Yep.
And there's no redeeming male character except for the cucks in the movie.
Well,
and
even
like,
Willem Dafoe he's not necessarily a douchebag. But he is because
none
of the
these
baby
people
thing.
Are good people.
Yeah,
none of them have a redeeming quality.
None of the men are good characters.
No.
But even he admits to being sexually attracted to her at one point until it's like, but it,
it's like
when I realized,
child.
then when the maternal instinct kicked in, that overtook, my sexual desires for her.
There is
and I'm
one good male figure. It's the black guy in the boat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the philosophy guy. Because
he's
teaching
the only
her
one that didn't take advantage of it.
And that's the other thing, just the ease at which you can pick apart all of the narrative plot points. That one, if you literally take away the aesthetic of Yorgos Lanthimos and even his dialogue, it's like all that, you take all of that away, the narrative plot points are not only garbage and trash, they fall a point. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing that hasn't been said already by leftist Hollywood. It's
unimaginative.
Yes.
It's not, and it's funny because
uninspiring.
It is. It's uninspired. And as far as like the perverseness goes, because I mentioned it a little bit in the review, like it's not even just the nudity and the sex scenes, because I've seen other movies with nudity that if it's tastefully done, like I don't necessarily think you have to have nudity really in any movie, but I understand why you might have it in certain scenarios. A perfect movie that makes complete sense. Boogie Nights is a great movie. It is about porn stars and has sex scenes in it. Yeah. And I would still say Boogie Nights is less perverse than this movie because it actually has themes that do have like actual like value. and it uses like kind of the perversion of
it shows
pornography,
the
to showcase-
negative
Yes,
side
yes.
of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, and it's funny because I know like some people would be like, "Oh, well, you're just a prude." It's like, no, I'm not a prude. This is a perverse movie.
Yeah. No other way to put it. And it's just completely it's not worth your time. It's not. I mean, there's just other things that are out there that are more entertaining, that add more value, that actually make you think. This movie doesn't make you think.
Boogie Nights makes you think.
That's right. Mark Wahlberg,
Don't become a pornography star.
You got the touch.
Dirk Diggler makes
yeah.
you think.
Makes you
He
think.
makes you think. But you know what? I'm ready to wrap up the discussion on
Yeah,
Poor
let's do
Things.
that.
Yeah.
We clearly all fell into the same boat as far as not recommending this movie. Quite a disappointment. And honestly, for those out there who may have watched it, may have enjoyed it, hey,
Yeah, more
email
power
us.
to you, I guess.
Like, like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you think. Email us at RMPodcast, RedMoonProductions.com.
Please do. Explain why it's a great movie.
Exactly.
I want someone to explain.
Some people like to dumpster dive. I don't know. Well, like, to each his own, I guess.
Like some people think that Pizza Hut is gourmet, I guess. So I mean,
Hey,
Hey, Pizza Hut's good.
don't knock the hut.
Little Caesar. Some people
Little
think Little
Caesars
Caesars is gourmet.
Hey, when you
This
first
was the Little Caesars of pizza.
This was like the Dollar Tree frozen pizzas
this was
that
Little
somebody
Tony's.
left out.
Little Tony's Pizza.
No, Little Tony's aren't bad.
This was the Red Baron.
That's what I'm saying.
Red Baron's
That's why I went with Dollar Tree frozen that somebody just left out
That's right.
in the alleyway
I
and
got
a
it.
hooker like it sat on.
Even though everybody has a fondness for this is that square pizza that you would get
School.
at
school.
cafeterias.
That was
school.
I
good.
feel like even bad pizza is good, and there was just nothing. Like
There's no way
I don't know.
you can equate this with pizza.
This movie is
No.
not like pizza at all.
No, it's not. That was a bad.
I don't know.
That was a bad
We're
thing.
still trying
yeah.
to make it work. Let's move,
All right,
move
yeah.
on to Dune.
Let's get into a movie that is actually worth your time and definitely
Oh,
worth
yeah.
seeing. Here is our review of Dune Part 2.
With all the Best Picture nominees now out of the way, and the argument over which movie deserves the crown of Best Film of 2023 commencing, we move on to review a film some are already christening the best movie of 2024. While it may be a bit too early yet to give any film that title, I think it's clear to see why Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 has captivated audiences and critics so much. And honestly, it would be very shocking to not see Dune 2 in the lineup of Best Picture nominees next year. Returning to complete the two-part adaptation of the novel he started with 2021's Dune, Villeneuve should be given props if for nothing else being able to deliver his vision of Dune amongst setbacks including COVID shutdowns and the endless Hollywood strikes. Navigating the turmoils of Hollywood and not even being allowed to film both movies as one, instead having to hope Dune Part 1 did well enough to justify Part 2 being greenlit, it's no secret Villeneuve also wants to make a third movie adapting the second Dune novel, Dune Messiah. Dune Part 2, taking in an $81 million domestic opening and a $178 million worldwide gross against a $200 million budget, bodes insanely well that Denis will get his wish. So what has drawn viewers to this movie? Continuing Paul Atreides' story, played by Timothée Chalamet, as he and his mother Jessica, played by Rebecca Ferguson, continue to flee into the desert of Arrakis after the assault on their house and death of Duke Leto, Paul and Jessica will settle in with the Fremen, as Paul learns their ways and using his Bene Gesserit heritage and teachings solely fulfills his role as Lisan al-Gaib, essentially the Fremen's messiah. This also plays into the Bene Gesserit's role of Kwisatz Haderach, a political engineered messiah the Bene Gesserit have been cultivating to rule. Paul, reluctant to become either, may have to accept his role as both to overcome the Harkonnens. Dune 2 is visually breathtaking, Villeneuve is nothing if not an impeccable visual storyteller, and Dune 2 is the proof in the pudding. Filled with exceptional set pieces, fantastic blending of CGI and practical effects, even going so far as to use the visual art of the movie to contrast and highlight the varying planets and cultures, whereas Dune is dry with brown, red, yellow, and orange color palettes, Gaidi Prime, which in the novels revolves around a black sun, is showcased with sharp black and white contrast. It's a visually satisfying and unique way to set the scenes, societies, and atmospheres apart. Unfortunately, while this visual world building is nice, actual depth of lore and world building is absent. Guide Prime's all black and white makes for cool visuals, but also comes across as nearly done solely for artistic reasons. Just adding in the small detail of the black sun, something never mentioned in film, would have solidified the artistic and lore reasons for such a choice, making the world building even richer. This, I find, is the biggest gripe I have for the entirety of Dune 2, an epic and highly entertaining movie that misses a lot of subtlety and depth from the novels. Very little in the film is poorly done, with a massive cast from Chalamet and Ferguson to the likes of Zendaya, Javier Bardem, Stellan Skarsgård, Austin Butler, Lea Seydoux, Florence Pugh, and even the great Christopher Walken. The star power is massive and each delivers great performances. The story is tight and fulfills bringing the events started in Part 1 full circle. And, as previously mentioned, Villeneuve's technical craft in visual storytelling, whether set pieces or action scenes, is mesmerizing. For all the big names, however, many of them serve little role and could have been played by anyone. I'm sorry to say, Walken was completely wasted. This go big mindset works as an entertaining film, but underlies the bigger issues with what has been lost from the novels. And while I argue the main themes are present and the important aspects of the characters and their motivations are mostly intact, there's enough significant changes that lessen the subtlety and depth of the story to have really irked me. Dune is a story with religious themes, with an emphasis on the importance of truth and how using the truth to manipulate people, or even more specifically, to manipulate people's faith for power or political gain, can lead to an even greater evil. The depths of this subject are boiled down to a much more simplistic look at religion that still harkens to the novel, just not as richly. Ultimately, though, Dune Part 2's draw to audiences is understandable. It still offers edifying themes and ideas, along with a smorgasbord of enticing action and visuals. It forgoes any woke agendas to tell a relatable story about humanity that, while not as powerful in my opinion as the novel it's based on, still resonates with people due to universal themes. Dune 2 is far from a perfect adaptation, but it's still good and the best version of Dune audiences have gotten so far. I give Dune 2 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Well, that's a much better score than our previous film.
That's 3 stars more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
It is a whole 3 stars more, yeah.
Far
I
more
completely
entertaining.
agree. It's simple math.
So back to Poor Things.
Honestly, what was going to happen was Poor Things I was going to give 1 star, and Dune I was going to give 3. And during the review, I was like, this movie's garbage. I took a half a star away from Poor Things and gave it to Dune 2.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was part of me being a fan of the book, and it as an adaptation leaves certain things out I wish it hadn't. And then, of course, it is an amazing movie. So kind of merging those two, I was around 3. But then ultimately, I was like, well, what's important from the book is in there. It's an amazing movie. So I still set it on the 3.5 because I know that bitter part of me that I feel right now. In May, when this comes out digitally and I watch both movies back to back in the comfort of my own home, I'm going to love it. And that bitter part will be gone. I already know. So I was like, look.
I think that's a good thing to bring up, though, because I feel like when films are adapted from a book that's, especially a book that's beloved like Dune, and same thing with some of the other recent films that have come out. And it's like when you have a movie that's supposed to be made and people have read that material for decades
and you love it,
and you love it, and it's like that's got to be a really hard position to be in because you know the true story, or I mean the story from the writer's aspect, but then you watch a movie and it's a good movie, but yeah, it just doesn't, those pieces don't fit. And it's like, because I feel like I'm somebody that hasn't read the book, so I absolutely freaking think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I can understand how someone who knows the source and knows that, and it would be difficult to kind of walk that line.
And it can be, and this is much better because, like, thinking of other adaptations, like we were talking about the Hunger Games over at Brian's.
Yeah.
Those are very faithful for the most part to the books. There are changes, but they are more faithful than I would say Dune 2 was.
Mm-hmm. And Lord of the Rings.
Yet the Hunger Game movies are nowhere near as good of movies as Dune.
Yeah.
So like you can balance that out as like, they're more faithful, but
well, if
the
anything, I think
direction
that's
is kind of uninspired.
to something like Lord of the Rings and how hard it is.
Lord of the Rings has both. I think faithfulness and just it's the top. And I would put it's funny because Silence of the Lambs is one I always put up there. It's very faithful and it's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
And then Game of Thrones, where is kind of where you start getting into a little bit of unfaithfulness, but still very good. And I would put Dune like right underneath that. As adaptation wise, like
that's still pretty good.
Yeah, that is.
I was gonna say all of those are top tier, and I'm not
But you
arguing
mentioned
with
Silence of the Lambs, and it's like I've never read that. I wouldn't know if that was any different.
Yeah, those
or
books
not.
are amazing.
I just know the movie is phenomenal, so I give it. I go with what I'm seeing on the screen, not what I've read before.
But ultimately, I will say I'm in the camp too of not having read the source material, and as far as expectations going in, I'd watched Dune Part 1 the Sunday night before that Thursday. So this last Sunday. And I'll be honest with you. Like I was kind of like, okay, as long as it exceeds this, I'll be happy. I was blown away by it. It was far and away better than the first movie.
Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yeah. And I hate to say this because nothing against the first movie. I did like it more the second time around. But you all, I think I even voiced my opinions when we talked about the first one when it came out. Was not a huge fan of it. I mean, it was okay, but I didn't think it was mind-blowing. Even the second time around, I found in the third act of the film, I found myself kind of going, in a dazed and confused, like I'm just losing interest. It was very much more slow.
Yeah.
This hits the ground running and doesn't look back.
Yeah.
But it also lets everything that needs to breathe. It never feels rushed, even in a 2-hour, 45-minute film. You think, okay, well, one, that's way too long. No, not for the amount of content it packs in.
Yeah.
But also
I think
for the
it could have
amount.
been longer.
I think it could have been longer too.
It could have, although I'm glad they went with what they went with because I think it's a safe runtime, and I think it keeps you getting too fatigued for those who might have
The average
gotten their
moviegoer.
fill.
Yeah.
And Sean, I know you've seen it a second time already.
I did. I saw Poor Things, and that movie was such shit that I had to go see Dune 2 again. And that I had to get that out of my mind and get hyped up about Dune 2 again.
Right.
And the second time I caught things that I didn't catch the first time because it's dense and there's a lot going on. But it also allowed me to appreciate those moments where it breathed and slowed down, and I appreciated those even more when you look at the amount of action and just the amount of explosions and scenery and ships and design, all
and
of it's
I gotta say this too right off, just real quick, get it out of the way. I think I told you all after we came out of the theater, Top Gun Maverick was the last movie I saw in IMAX that I said I would fully recommend people go in to see it in IMAX.
Absolutely.
This now is the movie that I would say you need to see it in IMAX. The visuals are not only stunning, the sound is amazing.
Yes, it is.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
And just even watching a little short featurette about the first movie, not even the second movie, which I'm sure the second is not just as much or if more complicated, but there were some scenes that they were saying in the first movie that had 2,000 audio tracks in for one particular, which I'm just like, again, this is the big budget movie, Hollywood movies we're talking about nowadays. But even still, this one just outdoes the first in so many different ways, in spectacle and in art direction, in the set pieces. I will say, again, going back to a friend of mine that I work with, I won't explain all of his critiques. And granted, he loves the novel. He said, as far as a film goes, he would have given it 4 out of 4 stars. It's highly entertaining, emotionally enthralling. He said it was great for cinematic purposes. For an adaptation purposes, he said he would have given it a 1.5 out of 4. So apparently, for someone who's read and enjoyed the source material to a huge extent, I think he more takes not that he hates the movie, he just sees it as, okay, they took a lot of the lore, a lot of the world building, and a lot of the the story elements and the characters and placed them in something that is a little bit more surface level compared to what the book goes into.
I was just going to say, I think he simplifies a lot of that stuff in them, and because I wouldn't go as low as 1.5, in my opinion, as far as adaptation. I just think he oversimplifies a lot. He does cut out a lot, but I was going to let you go. You go.
No,
ahead.
I was just I watched a couple of different reviews on YouTube of people comparing it to the book, and they very much they basically said if you wanted to take the book and be 100% faithful to it, this would have had to have been 8-10 hours long.
Well, yeah.
It'd have to be 3 or 4 movies, 2 hours apiece, because there's no way to cram the detail and the amount of depth that goes into the religious aspect of it, or even the anti-organized religious aspect of the whole story. But not just that, but the detail in the planets, the worlds, the houses, the great houses, all of this stuff. There's just no way he could have done that in 2 movies, so it had to be at surface level.
And while I think I would agree, I think, to me, though, the problem is you take something like Lord of the Rings, which is, again, kind of considered the gold standard, and rightfully so, which, granted, it had 3 movies and 3 separate books. There's still some cutting and large cuts that did happen, and even changes that happened. Mm-hmm. But I think the difference is when you had Peter Jackson, Philippa Boyens, and Fran Walsh sit down to make it work, they said that was one of the challenges, is how do we not only remain faithful to the source material, but how do we tell the story that Tolkien also wanted to tell? And that's where I think that a lot of the themes, even though there are some that are overtly or even kind of ambiguous in Dune Part 1 and 2, I mean, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week with Denis Villeneuve's approach to story in general and just dialogue and how it kind of comes second to the spectacle. Mm-hmm. And my friend at work was specifically saying, and granted, I admit this needs to happen because it's a cinematic movie. It's it has to be show, don't tell. But a lot of the scenes where they're taking out the Harkonnens, spice crawlers and whatnot, he says it's mentioned in the book, but it happens off page. Like you don't. Yeah, it just happens in the background. They don't go into any detail. Yeah. Whereas in this, there's a good probably the whole time in which, I mean, from the moment he's learning how to tame a sandworm, and then also is.
The guerrilla warfare. The guerrilla warfare, taking out
granted, it's a beautiful, amazing spectacle. Mm-hmm. But again, that is, if you think about it, 40, maybe 50 minutes of the movie and all of the battle scenes. Yeah, and they're well worth having for the reason you go to the cinema.
Yeah,
but I get to where some people would argue, well, then okay, if you're going to take that route and you want to actually be faithful to the story and really be true to the themes that the book holds, why not flesh it out into 3 movies from one book?
I wish they would have.
I think he absolutely could have. Like, because you mentioned Lord of the Rings, the whole length of Dune is around the same length of all 3 Lord of the Rings. Because I mean, Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings as one book. His editor forced him to split it into 3. So Dune and the 3 Lord of the Rings novels are generally about the same size all together. And I think if he had taken Dune, because even in that novel, it's split into 3 sections called books. Mm-hmm. So I think if you had made each book a movie, like if Denis Villeneuve had done that and been allowed to do that by the studio, because he did want to film 1 and 2 together as one movie, and it was the studio that was like, honestly, hey, let's do 1, and if it does well, you can do the next, and if it does well, you can do Messiah.
Huge props to being able to make a part 2 in almost seamless connection.
Oh yeah,
and not having filmed them together.
Yeah. He does a great job.
Phenomenal. It doesn't feel like you miss.
Yeah, and I would blame the studio on that one for not allowing him, because I think if he'd been allowed to film it all as one, get the whole novel out, however, and then cut it into whatever movies he needed to cut it into, it might have been able to be more faithful. Him having to do it in chunks of, here's Dune Part 1, it has to be part 1 of the story, but it also has to stand up well enough on its own, because if it doesn't do well, then we're done.
And honestly too, and I think I kind of talked to y'all a little about this too, with how much is in part 2 and how slow part 1 is. I'm like, a little bit of this could have probably been pushed in. I know he has the definitive break there, and it does make sense in the way he splits it up thematically.
Yeah.
But ultimately, or even cinematically, how he splits it up, I feel like we could have put a little bit more content in the first movie and made it a little bit more fleshed out, which would have allowed us to maybe expand on some of those themes or the broader, topics of discussion in the book in part 2. I mean, again, by no means, from somebody who's never read the book, it's a cohesive story. It's unique. It has its own world building within it. It has its own unique narrative that it tells. Like, I wouldn't say that it's not necessarily something new. There's nothing groundbreaking in it in terms of storytelling. But as far as spectacle and in the world and the characters it creates and revolves around,
aesthetically, it's unique.
Aesthetically,
it's like
100%.
I actually liken it. It's funny because he did this movie too, but I liken it to Blade Runner.
Yeah,
it's a world that you haven't seen before.
Far better.
You haven't seen Blade Runner's world. You've not seen it in Star Wars. You haven't seen it in Total Recall. You haven't seen it in any other sci-fi film. It's kind of on its own, and I feel like with what he did with Dune and the aesthetics and how everything just is believable.
Yeah.
Like even the thumper, just down to those little things, like that's believable. And the way it looks, it's not this big, some of the Furman's weaponry and things like that. It's simple.
Well, and again, he doesn't get so abstract in the artistic design that it's, like you said, it's unbelievable or artistic for artistic's sake.
Yeah.
It seems like it's
It comes
weird
from
and
the
abstract,
novels.
but it does. Okay, so
I would
it's very
say,
thorough.
I think a lot. Well, just like the black and white from the Harkonnen's Planet Agiti Prime, I feel like yes, it's very uniquely Denis Villeneuve. Like you watch, like Sean said, you watch Blade Runner, and you could tell it's definitely his artistic style. But that is one thing I really enjoyed from. Of the movies as an adaptation, like some of maybe the story elements and thematic elements got cut, but visually, because he is a visual director, like all of it does get its cues from the novels. Like, I mean, Arrakis looks like exactly like I almost picture it in my mind. A lot of it.
There's only so many ways you can design.
Yeah,
a
that's
desert
true. That's
wasteland.
true.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about just the visual, like the storms, the worms,
What's
doing
the capital?
black and white.
The capital city looks like it was built to withstand the sandstorms.
Straight
like
up,
the
honestly,
way that
and
it's
it is,
made.
yeah. And those are details in the novel that like
They
It looked like out of Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, but in a sand. Like it's funny because that
But a lot of modern science fiction does take and pay homage to the original Dune novels. George Lucas with Star Wars, like Tatooine, Anakin's kind of character art follows Paul Atreides a little bit. There's different. Like Dune, it's funny because Lord of the Rings is 100% like the godfather of modern fantasy. I wouldn't say that entirely of Dune. I think sci-fi has multiple sources like Frank Herbert's Dune, Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. But I think Dune is a big influence on modern science fiction.
No doubt. And I think, honestly, especially from what I consider to be maybe the cult classic but horrendous version of, the 80s version of Dune, where it was crammed into like a 2.5 hour movie.
It wasn't bad though.
But it's 2 hours.
Like I said,
2 hours and 15 minutes. It's not even longer than either movie.
I've seen that several times, and I would say that
who is it that directed that?
David was
no, not Fincher.
Lynch.
No,
Lynch. David Lynch. That's it.
I would say that movie is also unfaithful to the books because
it is.
it's more
100%.
Like Denis Villeneuve's film.
Well, and it's funny because a lot not only would agree with you there, but they would say it butchers the work inherent in what I think. I think that was what was kind of maybe set a lot of people up with Dune coming in a modern era. Was now it's going to be done right.
Finally be
and
it's done better.
It's done way better than that
maybe
one.
Not
and done amazingly well for a cinematic masterpiece in terms of what it does for film. And the height at which we can come. In this era in film, I think it does everything masterfully from blending in not only CG and, authentic, practical effects, but also just the set pieces, the design, the cinematography, the sound, the score, like all of it works in conjunction to show you the height of what filmmaking is right now. And I think that is what Denis Villeneuve set out to do. I think he achieved it. Absolutely, he surpassed it. But at the same time, for the Dune novelist faithful, I totally understand the criticism of saying we were wanting to have a faithful adaptation of our work that was beloved in the same way that I think a lot of people
especially after
put Lord
the
of the
80s
Rings
version, because that's one thing. Like a lot of fans of the novel don't like the original 80s book. In fact, I mean, it's more of a cult classic because critics at the time didn't like the original Dune either.
Yeah.
So I think fans were hoping, oh, this is going to be the version that really, and it is. It's a much better version, and it is more faithful because, I mean, heck, just alone, like I said, the first movie is already longer than the entirety of the original Dune.
Right.
So I think I understand. Like I said, I really still enjoy the movie as someone who I'm not as much of a book purist, I think, as some people, because there's people out there that hate the Lord of the Rings movies.
Right.
So I'm just like, hey, if you're that much of a purist, I don't think any adaptation's ever going to.
One of the
please
things
you.
a movie or a set of films like this does to me is I'm not a big reader, but the movies are so good.
They make
for
you wanna
someone,
read the
they
book?
make me want to read the book. And I think the Lord of the Rings trilogy was probably that way for a lot of people too. A lot of people didn't grow up reading those books, and when they saw the films and just got completely enthralled with the world that Jackson was able to create, and then people are just like, oh, well, I'm going to read the books and see what more there is in these books. And so that's what I would hope that people, even especially me, someone who hasn't read it, most people that haven't read it are going to love these films, and I hope that they are like me and invest in the book and decide to read.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because I think a lot of people will look at this as they wanted something that was timeless that wouldn't be recreated. I don't think this vision in what Villeneuve put on screen can be recaptured, but I also don't think and this is where I'll fault it the half star, I guess, because it is still an adaptation. I would just say that I don't think this is something that is beyond being redone. I don't think it puts it in the category. Like, to me,
that's how I feel about it.
A lot of people are, I mean, we cringe and we talk about it on the show all the time when who owns the New Line property now in Lord of the Rings? And
Warner Brothers.
Warner
still
Brothers.
They still own
Well,
the
they're
movie.
already- no,
they
they're
still own
talking
New Line
about-
in movies, but
they're talking about remaking them. And I'm just like,
I think
to me,
he
those are
debunked that. He said that they would do other series, but they wouldn't remake the novels themselves.
I hope
but there
not.
was rumor about that. You're right.
and I hope that we continue to we continue to speak that.
But do you think
through every
you think
megaphone
50
we can.
years from now, the Lord of the Rings wouldn't be a series that deserves a
I don't think
a
it
remake?
needs to.
It's like
Because to
Ben-Hur.
me, yeah.
Look at how old Ben-Hur is.
Yeah.
They tried to remake it, and it was trash.
Well, that's because they missed the point of Ben-Hur.
But also, I think
just don't
William
think there's a
Wyler's
need.
vision is
Yeah.
so done so well. And again, it's something more. I mean, to me, that's what film is in a sense. And I almost feel like a lot of the filmmakers who are in this position, they stumble upon it out of happenstance. It's not like they plan it. I think if you plan for it, it doesn't happen. But someone like a Peter Jackson who wanted to be as faithful as he could, that was his first goal. And look at what they created, and you can tell. I mean, same with William Wyler and Ben-Hur. It's like there are certain movies that come along. Citizen Kane. I mean, with Orson Welles, there's just certain movies that have a certain appeal that are timeless, regardless of what era they're in.
Yeah.
But they may, certain aesthetics may have, been outgrown and they may no longer exist, or we've outdone them and we've moved on and technology's gotten better. Of course, but there's still a certain part about that film that not only is timeless in what it's preaching and what it showcases, but also in just kind of tells you about the era that it was made in, and also gives you the idea. I mean, that's the reason why if somebody went out and made a Ben-Hur exactly like William Wyler did it back then, they'd be laughed at, because it's like, we have so much better technology. Why wouldn't you create something that looks even more? But the thing is, you look at when that was made, you watch that chariot scene, and it still freaking blows your mind, because you realize the limited capacity that they had of pulling that off. And I think, to me, Lord of the Rings is the same thing. Is there's just something about it in its formula that it captures so well that it can't be redone. It can't be.
I don't know what you could offer as a new adaptation of Lord of the Rings to make it any that much different or better or stand out from Jackson's, because they're great as an adaptation, they're great as a movie. With Dune, like you said, I think recreating, like with the visuals and everything, that would, like, there's going to be people who wouldn't like a remake just because those visuals are going to be iconic, and Denis Villeneuve did such a great job with production design and the special effects, and that'll be the biggest hurdle a remake would have to overcome. But there's so much from the novels you could incorporate that I think there is something you could still offer with the remake, and that's why I think it could be in several years, like 10, 20 years, someone could come back and offer a new adaptation that does stand out because it could incorporate more of the book. Look, Harry Potter's a great example. They're remaking that series.
Yeah.
I'm ecstatic. I'm hoping it's done well because it's HBO, because they're like those movies I don't care for as movies or as adaptations. So
I've heard that from a lot of people that have read Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I never have.
Yeah.
Same,
So I
haven't.
don't know the difference.
Yeah.
But
I
I know
also-
Neil hates those movies,
and
and
I
he's a
only
huge fan of the books.
Came onto the movies like towards the end and watched like the last 4.
Yeah.
And those are the
There's a
only
lot I think to offer with a remake of Harry Potter. I said it in high school, and people thought you cannot remake Harry Potter. It's like they'll be remade one day, and here we are. Here we are.
But again, I mean, Hunger Games is probably in the same boat.
It
I mean,
could
again,
be.
to reach that status, you just have to be of a certain level. And I'm not saying that Dune isn't a great movie. It clearly is. Part 1 and Part 2 together, I think, are phenomenal. Especially Part 2. I would definitely go check it out. It's worth a watch. I know we need to get moving on, but no doubt it's going to be a high bar. It's set a high bar.
Yeah,
early
it would
in
be
the
a hard
year.
one to remake. Like, 'cause Harry Potter and Hunger Games are easy to remake.
I just meant for this year. It's
Oh, yeah.
already set a high bar.
I already
of what's to
predicted.
come out.
I already predicted it'll be in the Oscars next year. I could be wrong, but
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, the first one was, and I can't think of anything that would come out this year that's going to really knock this out of those 10 spots. So
It's kind of funny because Dune Part 1 was in a lot of the it was nominated for Best Picture.
It was nominated for a lot.
Yeah.
It won some of the technical categories, didn't it? But I can see this movie actually, knowing the
depends.
Academy, I don't know. I can see it being nominated for Best Picture.
Yes.
But
I think it will.
I would think that this one is more worthy of Best Picture than the first one.
Oh, I agree.
Absolutely.
But I don't.
Just like I thought Avatar Way of Water was
Yeah.
way better
Yeah.
than the first
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, it was also nominated,
It
just like the
was,
first
yeah.
one. There's no doubt in my mind this will get a nomination.
But it will be surprising considering how early in the year it's come out.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
it will be remembered by then. But I think it will because of how good it is.
It'll be like Top Gun. Like, I mean,
It came out in May, and
it got the nod. I mean, it
But
didn't
mostly
win,
technical.
but yeah.
Yep.
And that's where it really only got nodded. But you know what? Let's stop talking about past Oscars. Let's talk about this year's Oscars.
Oh my goodness,
And
I've
let's
got my picks.
Get into those headlines, shall we? That's right. We're talking about the Oscars this Sunday.
Oh yeah,
Woohoo!
those grouches.
We're talking about the show that continues to dwindle in terms of relevance and in terms of entertainment.
Oh,
Just like the rest of the industry. So let's celebrate it.
Celebrate good times.
That's right. We've got our Oscar picks. We've locked them in. Everybody's got their pulled up.
Yeah, I got it right here in front of my face.
So I'm going to go in the order from bottom to top.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And we're just going to go
Now,
around.
Yeah, you'll have to pull up your own list of who was nominated. We already went over those. We're just going to throw out our picks.
Yeah, we're going to, exactly. Yep. Pull up a list of the noms if you want to follow along of who we omitted or who we favored. But all right, I'm starting out with costume design.
Yeah.
And I have Barbie is who I think will win. And who I want to win, funny enough, is Napoleon. I went with Napoleon.
Why
not? Throw it a bone.
I was close to
Design
that.
is not on my list.
I spent the spreadsheet that had it.
It should be at the very bottom. Yeah.
Should to be
No,
very
visual
bottom.
effects is at the bottom of mine.
Oh wow. Yeah, they cut it off because that was the one underneath
Yeah.
visual effects. Yeah.
Yep.
I will go real quick then. I honestly have Poor Things as costume design. Yeah.
I think I was gonna go that route. I
weird.
just didn't want to
Well,
nominate it for anything.
I don't want to either,
give
but
it
like
any award.
it won. I think the BAFTA and I think Golden Globe. So I'm like, oh yeah, I think it'll get it. I have that as will win. Poor Things. I actually put Barbie as one to win. I almost went with Napoleon just because I didn't want to give Barbie anything either. But I was like, yeah, it's like it got that aspect right. I'll go with that. So, but I don't think it'll get it.
I can give mine,
Sure.
even though I don't have it on my list. But I would say I think that they'll give it to Barbie. But I would want Napoleon to win. I
Okay.
thought the
Yeah.
way they captured the
Oh, no,
the
Napoleon
costume
was
design of that movie was
fantastic,
great
but-
for the era. Yeah.
All right, moving on then to our next category, visual effects. I believe Godzilla -1 will win, and I want Godzilla -1 to win.
That's where we differ.
Okay. I'll just say mine are the exact same. I believe it will, and I want it to. So,
Yeah.
Sean, what about you?
I think Godzilla. I think that's the only thing it will get. I think it's gonna. I think
it's the only thing it was
that's
nominated for, yeah.
I think they'll give it to Godzilla just simply because it's a Japanese film,
Right.
and I think they'll get
That's
but
the reason why I picked Barbie in a lot of these categories.
Yes, yeah.
I don't have Barbie in only one because
I have it in 3.
I thought it would
Same.
get. I thought it would.
Same.
I got it, and I think. Well, I got it in more than one, but it's funny because I did. I always look.
Well, you interrupted me. I wasn't done
Yeah, go
yet.
ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I think I want the creator to win.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't like
Now
its
you can
visual-
speak.
I didn't
I'm
like
done.
it. No, I didn't like its visual effects.
I thought the
Yeah.
visual effects were pretty phenomenal.
They
in
were
that movie.
they were fine. I just
Out of the list. I thought
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
the most.
Yeah, the only visual effects that were good in Godzilla -1 was Godzilla. I think there's a lot more to the creator. That's the only reason I picked it.
Okay.
Nice,
All right.
nice.
And Keith, what were you explaining there?
I always
Barbie?
base mine on like the other award shows and like who's like getting a lot of like buzz and nods.
Yeah,
So that's
fair.
kind of how I go with my picks. And Barbie wasn't winning anything anywhere. So I was just like, okay, maybe this is just the one. They're
It's
like,
almost like
here's
after
a-
the Greta Gerwig controversy subsided, everybody was like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to pick it.
It's like, yeah.
Like, we're not going to
It has very little wins across the board in all the award shows. So I was like, okay.
Okay, well, Keith, you start off the next category.
Makeup and hairstyling. I went with Maestro for that as who I think will win. That was a hard one, but I put Maestro as I want to win. It's the only thing I would give it just because while I didn't think it was overtly amazing, the realism is where I was like, I give that the nod over the Poor Things and Barbie, which I think were also nominated.
Yep. Sean, what about you?
I think Maestro will win, but I picked Society of the Snow.
As you want to win?
Yeah.
I actually went the kind of opposite. I put Society of the Snow, I think, will win. Again, one of its only noms, and I think it will get something just for it making the splash that it did.
Wasn't it? Did it not get foreign film nom? I know
It
we don't
did,
cover
but
that.
I don't think it was going to win. Or no, wait. Yeah, we don't
I-
cover it. We don't.
Yeah,
cover
we don't
it.
cover that.
We don't
I
cover
just-
foreign film because I don't watch the
Yeah,
others.
I was just curious for myself because
Yeah.
some of them are actually Best Picture noms too.
Yes.
because I think Zone of Interest was another one.
Yes, and it was a best foreign film nom.
That'll probably win that.
But then I picked. Funny enough, I don't know why I picked this as I want to win.
Poor
I should
Things.
have I should have given it to Maestro, but I ended up picking Oppenheimer.
Oh,
I think I want that to
it
win.
was not bad. I just didn't think it was.
It wasn't
special.
exceptional.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And honestly, Maestro is more exceptional with how they age throughout,
Yeah.
Yeah.
from Carey Mulligan's younger years to older. So I kind of want to change it, but I'm sticking with it. It's set in stone. Okay, Sean, why don't you start us off with original song?
I think I'm Just Ken will win from Barbie.
Okay.
And I want I'm Just Ken to win from Barbie.
I want I'm Just Ken to win, but I actually think what was I made for?
Yeah.
Billie Eilish and Phineas are gonna.
I
take it.
have that exactly the same. I think that'll win. And again, that's based on it's won every other award show so far. And then I'm Just Ken is what I want to win.
All right, and then I'm going to start off original score. I think Oppenheimer is going to win, and I want it to win. It's the most interesting out of all of them that I saw.
I have that as exactly the same. Both want and think will.
I actually think that's the only thing Killers of the Flower Moon will get.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I want Oppenheimer to win.
I can see that too, but I do think Oppenheimer. But I mean, I could see Killers.
I actually do predict that Killers of the Flower Moon is completely shut out the entire show.
I don't
Okay.
have it winning anything either.
Yeah.
So
I
don't want it to.
Right. No.
actually, no, that's not true. I do have one.
Oh,
win.
there's one.
There's one. I
Yes,
do have
I
one.
agree. That's the only
Yeah,
one that's
but we'll
that's
get there.
sweeping all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's nominations where it's wins.
Yeah.
Okay, so production design. Keith, why don't you start us off there?
I actually, and this one I did go against other award shows. I think I put Barbie for this. A lot of award shows are putting Poor Things. I think that might be a curveball at the Oscars, and they'll give Barbie the production design because I honestly have it as I want to win too, just because it's like that's the one aspect of the movie I thought was exceptionally well done.
Yep. Sean, what about you?
I have the exact same thing. Barbie.
I've got
Barbie.
I've got Barbie as will win, but I actually did pick as the one category that I wanted Poor Things to
Oh,
win.
really?
Is production
I didn't
design.
want to. I don't have it for once on anything. I don't want nothing to do with that movie.
That was the only thing that was pleasing to me.
Yeah, no, I get
The
you.
cinematography was okay, but I didn't
A
think
lot
it
of
was
fisheye,
amazing.
like you said.
Right.
It was a lot of things I've seen before in cinematography.
Right.
Well done, but seen it all.
But then the production design was the one thing that I thought was unique about it. That I was like, okay, this is done really well. All right, so Sean, what about best
Found.
sound?
I have Oppenheimer will win, and I want Oppenheimer to win.
Same. Oppenheimer will win, and I want it to win.
I put Oppenheimer will win, and I actually went for Mission Impossible on the one to win. But
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if it did.
I mean, that's not that's not a strike
It's
against
like one of the
Oppenheimer.
only technical things that it's nominated for.
I just but
so
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you gotta. I'm with you on that.
It was nominated for visual
Are we
effects,
going
too.
to
Oh,
the
right. One of the only.
Yeah,
technical,
sure. They're all technical, though.
Yeah.
Right.
film
editing.
Film editing. Okay.
Keith, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, film editing. I think again Oppenheimer, and I actually chose the holdovers as I think one of the only categories I wanted it to win. So
Wow.
Sean, what about you?
I have Oppenheimer for both.
Same. I have a confession to make also. I'm hoping that I will get to before Oscar Sunday.
Rewatch it.
No, I have not seen the holdovers yet.
Still
have not seen the holdovers. So I instinctively, and I'm probably going to be disappointed because this is what happens every year. There's like one film,
Yeah.
and I wait and then I watch it, and then I'm mad because
After you've picked.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I did not pick. I think I picked the holdovers for one thing in here, and only because
There's only one thing I think it
figured-
will win.
Okay, we'll see if we're on that same
Yeah,
page because
yeah.
I also only picked it for what I think will win, but I couldn't pick it for anything that I want to win because I just haven't seen it.
That's literally the only thing I chose it as one to win. I
It
think
might be the same thing I did.
two. I have two for one to win.
But I ended up picking for film editing, Oppenheimer and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving
Fantastic.
on to cinematography. I went with, again, Oppenheimer and Oppenheimer.
Same.
So, and it's
I think Oppenheimer's going to sweep a lot. It's not going to be like Lord of the Rings, like 11, but I mean, it's going to get a lot of.
it's going to get like
yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
And because honestly, I think this year is just a weak year.
It is a weak year, and,
it was the
Academy
only-
loves Nolan. He does deserve praise. It's kind of like the Revenant situation. It's like weak year. Yeah, Leo's great, but this was not the movie he should have gotten the awards for.
Right. And also, I just think that the competition is so lackluster compared to kind of that middling highbrow, but also widely regarded as like, okay, it made over $1 billion at the box office. A lot of people
Audiences
know it.
actually like
Right.
it. Yeah.
And I think that I really do think the Academy is in that weird ethos and that they're in that playing that middle ground of we want to be artistic, but we also want to still be relevant.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to try
They
to
know nobody watches the Academy Awards, so it's like, well,
or that
gotta get
nobody
people to-
remembers
yeah.
the best pictures
Yeah.
from the last several years.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think they're going to
Original
play it safe.
screenplay, is that where we're at now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Original screenplay, I think will win Anatomy of a Fall, want to win Past Lives.
I picked Past Lives as one to win, but I picked The Holdovers
Okay.
as what I think will win, based on what I've heard of the movie.
No, I think it's fair.
Sean, what about you?
I think Maestro will win, but I want the holdovers to win.
We're all different on this
Yeah,
one.
that's
Yeah.
a big one. That's a big difference.
That'll be interesting,
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, Anatomy of the Fall is probably the strongest point was its writing.
Yeah.
I would
yeah.
agree. It was
I don't have it
strongest one.
winning. Well, I think I do have it winning one other thing, but that was pretty much it.
But Sean, moving on to Adapted.
I think Barbie will win. I want Oppenheimer to win.
Okay. Weird that Oppenheimer
I have
Adapted.
very different. Yeah.
Go
yeah.
ahead, yeah.
Well, Oppenheimer, I think, was based on a
Based on the
is,
biography.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird that Barbie is adapted, but to me, but
Yeah, that too.
was a whole debate already. Adapted screenplay, I think American Fiction will pull that one, and that's actually who I wanted to, just because I do enjoy that.
It's
the writing
so
in
funny.
that.
I almost went that route.
Yeah.
I ended up picking Barbie as the one category that I think, again, they'll get some love. But then I picked American Fiction as the one I wanted to win. Even with its minuses in that category,
Yeah.
it was the strongest one.
Yeah.
It was the strongest written one. So animated feature. I think there's only one choice here. I picked Across the Spider-Verse to win and that I want to win.
Oh, wow.
That's what I picked.
You said there was only one choice, and I was thinking you were going somewhere different. Boy and the Heron, I think, will win.
I don't think it. I think it's
It'll-
gonna completely overlooked.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I picked it to win.
It's won.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's won everything else so far. I think it's the year that they're like, it's Miyazaki's opus. We're going to give it to him.
Which is funny because
Yeah.
he'll just come out with another one.
Yeah. Oh, well,
He
he's
keeps retiring and coming out with new ones.
Studio Ghibli's won Best Animated. Like
That's what I'm
Spirited
saying.
Away has won in the past, but I just think that everybody keeps praising it as the best Studio Ghibli Miyazaki film ever made. It's not. It's not. But yeah, I think it's. I picked Robot Dreams as one to win though. That's actually was a phenomenal. I
have not seen that.
I haven't
It
either.
is a Spanish-French co-production. I downloaded it just because I wanted to see like because I've seen the other animated features and none of them are worth it in my opinion. This was the only one that isn't anything I hadn't seen before, but was just so like it's very sweet. It's very well done. It's not woke. There is one Common Sense Media rated it 8 and up. There is one scene because the nature is like this dog builds a robot friend and then it's like going around learning stuff from people and they come across this like gang. First this lady waves at it and the robot learns the waves. Then it comes across this gang and they flip it off and that really shocked me because it's pretty much everything else in is completely clean children's movie.
Yeah, kid friendly.
But that's also I think just a cultural thing where people don't take the middle finger as seriously as Americans do.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, that threw me off.
Heaven forbid, it actually shows some realism, and you just kind of were like, "Hey, well, that probably would have happened."
It takes place in New York City, so
Yeah.
it absolutely would have
Exactly.
happened. So it shocked me, but then after that scene, everything else is very clean. There's no dialogue in the movie at all. It's 90 minutes, but it was just very pleasant and wholesome.
Denis Villeneuve would love it.
Yes, but it was very
He'd be
pleasant and
praise
wholesome, and the art style, while very simplistic, was very well done. And I was like, this deserves it. I think more than all the other schlock. I mean, Spider-Man's not schlock, but the rest of it, I think, is schlock.
Sean, what about you? So you picked The Boy and the Heron?
I think it will win, and because I haven't seen any of the other ones, I would pick Spider-Man to win.
Okay. All right. Well, we're divided on that one too. We shall.
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. All right, and then moving on to supporting actress. I believe, even though I have not seen it, so I guess I picked it for 2 categories. Devine Randolph from The Holdovers is gonna win.
Devine Joy Randolph.
Joy Randolph.
Get it right.
And actually, then I took this from the Oscar site, so I don't think they put Joy on there. And I picked her as I want to win because I haven't seen her performance, but I was
She
like,
was good.
I didn't care about anybody else
Yeah.
in that list. I don't think I've seen. Or wait. Oh well, yeah, because this is supporting actress.
Yeah, supporting.
Sean, what about
Jonathan?
I think Devine Joy Randolph will win, and I did pick Emily Blunt from Oppenheimer to win.
you? That you wanted to win? Okay. Keith, what about you?
I think will win Devine Joy Randolph. That's the only Holdovers one I have winning. And then want to win, I picked her too because she was good. She just, I think, again, it's a showcase of a weaker year, but
Okay.
yeah.
This one might surprise some folks. Sean, what about you on supporting actor?
I picked RDJ on both fronts.
Okay.
I think he will win, and I want him to win. I thought as a supporting actor, he did great, and I just showed his diversity in Oppenheimer.
This one I was a little torn on. I went with I think will win RDJ because he has sweeped all the awards. He won the SAG Award, the BAFTA, everything. So I'm like, but I do think because sometimes the Academy throws curveballs when they've won every single award. They're like, well, you've already won them all.
Yeah.
So we're going to give. And I'm still saying I think RDJ will win. Who I want to win is I think the other possibility, Ryan Gosling.
That's what I picked. I have RDJ as who I think will win, and I picked Ryan Gosling as want to win. Mainly
I just think
because
it'd be hilarious.
It would
Yeah.
be.
Oh, yeah. And I wouldn't be
Especially
mad if he won.
the so-called snub that
Yes.
Margot Robbie didn't get it. And then,
I
and
almost
honestly,
wish that would be the only thing Barbie wins is Ryan Gosling because that would be just
that would be
a cherry
hilarious.
on top.
But I also think that's the reason why he won't win.
Yeah.
Is because they're doing it as a way of saying, well, if nobody else, if she's not nominated and Greta's not nominated, well then.
And
boom.
then at that point, who
Yeah.
else do you go with? RDJ.
And the funny thing is Margot could win for Barbie, but it would be his Best Picture if it won Best Picture because she was an executive producer.
That's true. I don't think it's going to
No.
win that, but we'll get there.
Moving on to the Big Four. Here we are. Here it is.
Yeah.
All right, so starting out with lead actress.
Yeah.
I think we all will be on the same page of who we think will win.
No.
I think Lily Gladstone is walking away with it. I think she's won the others. It's her year because, Native Americans. I really do think that's the only reason. She was not exceptional in that film at all.
Nope.
But, okay, I want Carey Mulligan to win.
Nice. I actually, again, I do have Lily Gladstone. I thought that one would be very close between her and Emma Stone, but because, again, I went with where the other awards where Lily Gladstone swept it, I was like, I'll go ahead and put her as I think will win the Oscar too. I actually have Sandra Hüller from Anatomy of a Fall.
Okay. Oh,
it was a toss up between her because Carey Mulligan was very good too. I did think both of them.
She was the only reason I thought Maestro was worth hanging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Sean, what about you?
I think Emma Stone will win.
Wow.
And I want Carey Mulligan to win because I agree with you 100%. I thought she was the best part of Maestro.
100%. Easily.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Keith?
Lead actor, again, went with the clean sweep, Cillian Murphy. I actually want Jeffrey Wright to win, but
Wow.
yeah.
That was tough for me too, but I did pick Cillian Murphy to win for both.
Okay.
Wow.
It was between him and Jeffrey Wright because I really did love American Fiction.
Yeah.
I got it coming up later.
Oh, wow.
But I did have Cillian Murphy want. Also.
I've got Cillian for who I think will win, but I actually went with Bradley Cooper. Oddly enough, that's who
but
I
like
want
Jeffrey
to win.
Wright better.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the reason is like nothing against Cillian's performance. It's nothing he's
Not done before.
not done before.
Yeah.
Like he didn't.
I've seen him better in other movies.
Well,
not that he was
Right.
bad as Oppenheimer.
But that's the thing. I haven't dived into a bunch of old Oppenheimer footage or anything, or even heard him talk. But
Yeah.
I didn't get another person out of hearing him talk.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper in this category, because nothing against Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Wright's just, again, he's himself in modern day. It's like, I mean, I do think his acting, especially how he portrays the going into the thug, you know, and he's like, act black, you know,
Yes.
and he turns
It's
it on.
awkward.
It's
There's an awkwardness
hilarious.
to it,
Yes.
yeah. I love
And
it.
it was great because it's like,
See, I'm wanting to change mine, but I'm not going to change it.
but
I
think
just think Wright's a phenomenal actor.
from what I've seen of Bradley Cooper in as far as from the whole movie's perspective and the performance, I just think from start to finish you can tell he just like he did with A Star Is Born, he poured his heart and soul into it.
Or American Sniper.
And I think it portrays what I have seen of
Cooper is also a
Bernstein.
phenomenal actor. I agree.
But so that's who I picked. But all right, moving on to the top
Oh my goodness.
awards of the night. So director, I actually have Christopher Nolan winning, and who I want to win and who I think will win.
Same.
Same.
Out of the directors on there.
I looked at all of them. I'm like, I don't really care about any of them or the job they did. And yeah, I agree. I think will and want Chris Nolan.
What about you, Sean?
I said same.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
All right, then we're moving on to the big one
Here's
of the night.
Big Daddy.
Here it is. This is the big one of the night. Sean, you want to lead it off for us?
I think this is the only thing that it will win, and I think it's going to come out of nowhere. I think Past Lives is going to win.
What? Whoa, really?
I do.
I don't.
And
But
what do you want?
I want American Fiction to win.
Actually, see, that's where I thought you were going. And
I
I could
thought it
conceivably
would.
see it coming out of nowhere, almost like a moonlight.
What I want to win never wins. So I was like, I can't pick both because it's not going to win if I do that.
Right.
But I really, out of all of the films that we saw, American Fiction was the one that I enjoyed, and it emotionally got me the most.
Okay.
I did watch Past Lives, and I do agree with everything you all said about it. But I just think that's going to be I don't know. I think the Oscars will do something different, and that's why I think it'll win.
Huh.
I
Okay.
think
Out of
because
nowhere.
Parasite has already won and Namari or whatever with Stephen Ewan was nominated. I feel like they've given the Asians enough props that they're going to be like, we don't have to award Past Lives.
Sad but true. Keith, what'd
maybe.
you go with?
I think who I think will win. I went with Oppenheimer as who I think will win.
I just don't think they'll give it to him.
I see. Here's the thing. I agree. I think there's a chance that there'll be a curveball, but for me, the curveball is either going to be American Fiction or Poor Things, which I hope
Poor Things is not going to
Poor
get
Things would be the Moonlight curveball. That's the
yeah,
only.
true.
That would be the Moonlight curveball. Of,
I am willing to place a bet right now. Poor Things is nowhere near going to win.
well, we won't. Like if it doesn't
I'm
win,
willing. I know,
But how would we know? Like the chance. It's like okay.
No,
if-
that's all it is. It's just that it won't win.
yeah. No, I don't think it will. I think Oppenheimer will. I just said
right.
if there was a curveball, but we have no way of gauging that unless it
We saw the
wins.
tallies.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you think? Who do you want to win?
Past Lives.
Same. I ended up going with Oppenheimer's, who I think will win, and I want Past Lives to win. Of all the Best Picture noms, again, have not seen The Holdovers, Yeah. I still need to watch that. Maybe I'll come away
It's
a little
good.
different.
I don't. It doesn't stand out really, especially amongst. It's better than like the schlock that they nominated, but at the same time, it doesn't stand out enough that I feel like it's.
Well,
gonna
again,
get
we've
anything.
always said there's typically a upper tier and a bottom tier, and I think clearly we know Poor Things, in our opinion, is on that bottom tier.
Yeah.
And there's other Zone of Interest
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
is in the bottom tier. I sadly think Past Lives slips to just above it, only because I do think it's a universal movie that most can enjoy, but it's just nowhere near it has enough traction to win. It's just not had any kind of support or drummed up message outside of just being nominated.
Yeah.
American Fiction, I do think that is the one curveball that could easily come out of left field and be the best picture, and it could be the only award that it wins, along with maybe like a writing award or an acting nom. That's the only thing, and it would be very. It's funny because I don't think he'll win director for that movie because it's his first outing.
Yeah.
Whereas Nolan has been sweeping those, and again, I just think Oppenheimer, sadly, it's like the year of Green Book all over again. It's the safe bet. It's the one that most people have seen,
Yeah.
and it agrees it falls in line mostly with what the Academy usually wants as its representation of high art film, but also reaches a lot of people. And I think they're trying to cover their bases, and I just think it's the one movie that most probably in the Academy have seen and are willing to say, hey, it's this year's movie. It's Nolan's year. Give it to him.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have a Shape of Water instance where you have a back-to-back director and Best Picture win, where Guillermo won it and he won the Best Picture. And I think Nolan's going to win it director and he's going to win
That
Best
was
Picture.
the only thing that made me hesitant about putting Oppenheimer at Best Picture winner, because I am positive Nolan will win director. So I was like, sometimes they do split those, but then
They
I was
do.
like, I just can't. There's not a lot I really think, unless there is a curveball like Past Lives or American Fiction.
When I picked that, honestly, now that you're saying that, I did not even think about Parasite and Amari as being and the whole Asian thing.
Yeah.
It's like I just didn't even think about that when I picked it, but I will not.
They're like,
I'm not
they've
going to
given
change
them
it. I
enough.
already put
They've
it down.
given them enough
same.
kudos. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Because they don't
They
really
showed him enough
it's
love.
like they don't
Yeah.
really care about like the diversity angle only to say they've been diverse.
It's kind of because of that. Like you said, I didn't even put it that way, but I like the way you put it as it being a universal film. And I thought maybe the Academy will give it to that because it's
you also had
different. That's not their shtick.
Yeah,
It's the universality of
Right.
a film.
Yeah,
oh,
so
yeah,
I thought,
yeah.
man, there's the curveball.
I would
It's
be
they'll
okay.
try to give it to something that relates to everybody.
That's a curveball
And-
I'd be okay with. But,
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know.
True. I would be. I wouldn't be upset with
Well,
that.
and then Everything Everywhere, also very heavily Asian.
Yeah.
was won last year. So I just
And
I
it was
think-
also the favorite. I mean,
It
this
was the
would be
favorite.
if Oppenheimer wins. I hate to say, but I mean, honestly, no. The curveball. I should have said this. I kind of withdraw my statement of. I mean, American Fiction would be a curveball, and I could see that happening. But the other one that I could see as a predictable curveball, or people saying, "Oh, well." But it did deserve it. I didn't think it was going to, but it deserved it. Is Barbie?
Yeah, I could see
If
that.
Barbie just out of nowhere
Wins
and
nothing,
and I could
but-
see Margot Robbie coming up there and them getting up there and saying, "But we owe all of our thanks to this one person," and they get Greta up there to be the unofficial selector of to congratulate her.
The honorable mention.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But again, the
Yeah.
way they could shoot themselves in the foot is that could turn into a disaster where it doesn't win. But just like the year that it was the year of 2020, which was a god awful show, but they put Best Actor last, thinking Chadwick Boseman was going to get it,
yes.
and Anthony Hopkins won, and
Yeah.
it was the weirdest way to end the show.
Yep.
He wasn't even there to accept the award. It was hilarious.
Yeah. They were completely misjudged
neither was
that one.
Boseman, so
Yeah.
So true.
sorry.
No, it's good.
That's
It's good.
Alrighty, I think that's going to wrap up our Oscar. Screw you.
It's working tonight.
Yep, that's going to wrap up our Oscar picks for this year. Obviously, tune in Sunday, and of course we will. We'll be writing down who the winners are, and we'll be tallying it up, the points, and seeing who walks away with the most wins. Who's going to do it? But we have our one final segment to get into.
yeah.
And I think we can wrap up the show with this one. So let's
Yeah.
get into our Vices segment.
Yep.
My dog thinks I'm playing with it right now because I just
thought you were playing with her.
No, I was throwing something at her because she pulled a damn toilet paper roll out of the trash, and she's good. I know my hallway's probably covered in.
You didn't put the
brown
can
paper.
on the counter, did you?
It's just coming out of the bathroom and into the hallway.
She does it every time. Every time it's down there, she finds a way.
Forget to put it up. Yeah.
Gosh sakes! All right, let's get into our vices.
Yeah, let's do it.
My vice is beating my
Your
dog.
dog's vice is the garbage can.
It obviously is.
She likes those tissues in there.
Acts like I don't feed her enough. Ugh.
Yeah, pull out all the toilet papers,
all the boogers and butt sweat. She likes that stuff.
That's why I need to just 100% over to a bidet. Not even pat myself dry. Get rid of the toilet.
Get
paper.
you one that they have the ones that like have the little blow dryer.
The blow dryer.
Oh,
I don't know
man.
how much that costs, but
I can look
Wow.
into it.
I think those are the ones that are built into the toilet. I don't think you could just buy one to attach. You'd have to buy a whole new toilet.
I can rig up a shop vac and figure out. I don't know.
Yeah, you accidentally put it
like-
like
I don't
in
wanna
reverse.
suck. Yeah.
I want it to blow.
I mean, shop vacs will blow, but if you put it on the
Be
wrong
like an
setting,
astronaut getting your stuff sucked out.
Y'all were talking about prolapsing earlier.
Oh,
God. This is not our.
It's
vice.
after
No.
it's after 10 p.m. It's okay.
Yeah,
We've
we
been
got-
a
yeah.
edgier.
These subject matters are on the table. Alrighty, guys. My question for Vices was, what is your go-to movie when you can't find something to watch? Your go-to movie when you can't find something to watch.
Dude.
I already know what yours is. You
Yeah,
kind
but
of talked about
the
it.
thing is like mine happens in phases.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh,
Like there's
okay.
not just one movie over the course of my life that I'll go to when there's not. But like
Fair
I'm
point.
just gonna be honest with you right now. It's been Interstellar. Like I can't tell you how many. Okay, I'm just gonna I would say in the last since the beginning of the year, I've watched Interstellar at least twice a month.
Dang.
I have watched that at least 6 times.
Holy
in the-
amazing movie.
Yeah, and it's just because I'll be looking for something to watch, or I'll watch one of the Oscar movies and still have some time, and I might not get all the way through it, but it's like, well, what else? What am I going to watch now until midnight when I go to bed? And I can't find. There's just so much crap.
Yeah.
I can't find anything, and I literally will go to Interstellar every time.
You're looking for something that's going to scratch that itch, and
Yeah.
you want to know it's going to get scratched. You
Yeah.
don't want to be left hanging.
I usually only get to like when they see the sphere for the first, and then I got to go to bed.
yeah.
But then when I go, the next time I watch it, I start it over. I don't ever watch a movie starting from the beginning. Or starting from the middle,
Same.
unless it's a freaking Poor Things kind of movie where it's like I got to get through the rest of
Yeah.
this. But no, I like
or if
start
it's
it
a
over.
circumstance where it just happened to remember where I was, and I started up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll pick up from here.
It depends on how much time has passed. Like if I stop something and I'm going to go back to it the next day, I'll pick it up from where I was.
That's one thing.
Yeah,
But like 3 weeks later, I'm
Yeah.
not going to start. I'm
Yeah.
just going to
Same.
start
Yeah.
it over.
Yeah.
But Interstellar, before that, it was Dune Part 1. I watched, dude, I've seen that movie so many times last year that it's ridiculous. I watched Dune more than I watched TV shows.
Wow.
Like I literally wore that movie out. I think
Daggone.
they took it off my streaming because I was watching it too much. I was using up too much bandwidth.
No, they were just like, keep going.
But yeah, before that, I went through a Sleepless in Seattle thing where literally that was one, if I didn't have nothing else to watch. Oh yeah, I'll watch that movie again.
Well, and it was that time of the year.
And 10 Commandments, Ben-Hur, I've done that one, and that one's one that you start watching, and you don't get all the way through it unless you got 3 hours.
Yeah.
But no, it's always in phases for me, so I don't know.
I agree with that. It's funny because typically for me it's shows. I don't typically have like movies I go to because movies require you to commit,
More time, yeah.
more time. So when I'm going to watch a movie, I'm usually more intentional about what I'm going to watch. But as movies go, if we're discussing just movies, I'm with Sean. It is more phase worthy because I know. I like you mentioned Interstellar, but the Dark Knight movies, like there was a time where I watched those like on repeat. Lord of the Rings, I'll watch multiple times, like anytime. When we mentioned it over there, Shawshank is one that I have seen on multiple occasions because that's one that used to just come on TV all the time. And I'm flipping through TV and here's Shawshank. I'm like, oh, well, we're gonna watch that.
No, it's funny.
It
to
really
me
is kind of like phases. So,
a lot of those, and I'm in complete agreement. And mine are also in phases. And sometimes
Pulp
it's
Fiction.
just,
I watched Pulp Fiction.
I did
like,
too. Yeah,
for a month. Like,
yep. To the point where you know every freaking word of the movie. Yeah, it's
but
bad.
it's like for me, it's a movie that I guess sometimes it goes with the season. Like it just kind of comes in phases regarding like seasons of the year, and it just feels right. But also, I think it more aligns with like it's to me it's a movie that I just know has no lull in it from start to finish. I enjoy every part of it. And some of them right off the top of my head are like Count of Monte Cristo. I just from start to finish I love that movie and how it builds. In fact, the only part I hate is at the end because I feel like it wraps up and I'm like, no, I want more, which is a good thing. But yeah, Lord of the Rings, Inglourious Bastards, a lot of Tarantino stuff. It's just like I get into a habit of like, oh yeah, I just want to rewatch that. Oh gosh, there was one. Well, you brought up TV shows, and the first one that came to mind is either
Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World. I've seen that through so many times. Saved by the Bell. I mean, those are just short little like I can turn it on in the background, or even like I can turn it on and just I enjoy rewatching it. But Forrest Gump is a movie that I will watch from time to time. I love that film to such a degree that it's like, again, from start to finish, every part of it is enjoyable and emotionally moving. And it's also one of those movies I've seen so many times that I'm like, I don't know if I need to rewatch this again, but I love it.
I will. Don't tell me I don't need to.
And you're right, Dark Knight. Dark Knight is one of those that I just... And it's kind of like you, Sean, in terms of like when you get to that part in Interstellar. Dark Knight is the same way. It's like there's certain... Like once I get to the part where Heath Ledger's been first introduced, where he has the... Like he comes into the meeting, and you first see his real on-screen presence as the Joker, and you're just like... every time I get to... And that's in the very beginning of the movie. But sometimes I just
Magic
like
trick.
watching... Yes. I like watching certain parts of films to either study them or to reanalyze them as the first time that I saw it. Comedies, Talladega Nights is hilarious. Love revisiting some of those just from like growing up.
The Anchorman is one that I don't know how many times I've watched that.
Really?
It's like, and I think it's like Keith said about it being intentional. Like it's got to be. Those go-to movies are a movie that you already know that you enjoy every part of it.
Yep.
It's like I don't want to start a random movie when there's nothing else to watch, but I still don't want to start a random movie if I know.
Well, because you don't know if you're going to like it or not.
Yeah. I want a movie I know a sure bet that I like it.
There's every once in a while you have an adventurous I'm just like, okay, I want to try something new. But then and there's been movies that I've been hesitant to watch. And then after I watch them, I'm like, oh, I'll definitely watch that again.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Like, how in the world did I miss this and forget about it?
Yeah.
But then there's also movies that I've just like Poor Things. I'm just like, why am I wasting my time?
We'll never ever watch again.
No, never.
I mean, the original Star Wars trilogy are movies I could watch anytime. Heck, even
the freaking prequels. Talk about a guilty pleasure. Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. Not Attack of the Clones, but Phantom Menace just from all the hubbub surrounding it. Oh, yeah,
it's fun. I watched the prequels, too. But I mean, the originals are what I love, but I mean, I still have... there's a place in my heart for the prequels more so than the Disney crap.
Yeah.
I mean, even... speaking of Disney, even Marvel's original Infinity Saga, I'll watch the first Avengers movie, Infinity War, and Endgame. I mean, I will watch Age of Ultron. It's just not as good as those other three. But I mean, yeah, the first Avengers and then Infinity War and Endgame I can watch anytime. And that was...
She's already...
Yeah, she's ready.
She's
ready.
She can't help herself. She can't help. She can't help it.
She cannot.
Come here, pup. But no, I'm with you, Keith. I was actually going to throw in...
Disney tarnished everything.
Of course, that's what they do best. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Curse of the Black Pearl
first two
is great.
I saw a clip. Like I was just thumbing through stuff. There was a clip of Up, and now I really want to rewatch Up because I saw it today going through something on a break, and just the Instagram clips and stuff. And there was just a scene from Up that I was like, dang, I really want to rewatch that now.
Oh, I was already throwing some other ones. Toy Story.
Inside Out,
the Power Rangers movie.
I was going actually good movies. I mean, but the Power Rangers is fair.
But a lot of it is from nostalgia from being young.
I have those.
I mean, and honestly, it's weird, but I'm so picky about games in the same way. It's like I don't want to spend or invest this large amount of time into something I'm not sure if I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is easier to go back and replay a game or that I know I've enjoyed, and also I know how long it takes me to complete it.
As odd as it sounds, because they really aren't children's movies, but again, they're like nostalgia, like movies I can watch anytime because I grew up watching them. Gremlins and Who Framed Roger Rabbit are randomly. RoboCop.
I'll watch RoboCop anytime it's on.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep, that's a good one.
one.
That is. We got a plethora. I really should have thought, I think, longer and harder about this question.
No,
because there's a ton of movies that I know I can narrow it down. I mean, if I
they're all like pre-2010.
Yeah.
Except for, I guess, Endgame, but that's the exception, I guess.
Yep. Moneyball is one that I can revisit.
Have watched that
I like
times.
Moneyball.
Yeah.
It's not one that I would just be like, I'm bored, let me throw in
For
Moneyball.
some reason, the way it's written, it's just, I don't know what it is. That one and Social Network, I had a huge kick on
of that one.
in when I was in college. Social Network, I just, not only the Fincher's work in cinematography.
I like Social Network, but
Have
again,
you
it's not another
have you ever
one.
seen the outtake of Brad Pitt not being able to stop laughing on Moneyball?
No, I have not.
There's
see
a
that.
scene that they were shooting with Jonah Hill, and he's sitting across the desk from him, just explaining the whole Moneyball thing like the first time. And I don't know what he says. He makes a face or something, and Brad Pitt loses it, and it's about 15 minutes long of
he
Brad
just
Pitt
can't
just
stop.
not being able to stop laughing. And every time Jonah Hill delivers the line, he busts out laughing. He's like, all right, do it again. And he tries to serious his face and can't do it. It's freaking hilarious because Brad Pitt just doesn't.
He doesn't break up like that.
No, he doesn't. But there was something about Jonah Hill. He's just like, I can't look at you and not laugh. Like it was really funny. You have to check it out.
Alrighty,
stuff.
guys.
Yeah,
well,
good
you
stuff.
can send us the movies that you like that you have as your go-to.
Brandon threw a couple shows in there.
I did. I mean, and shows too. It doesn't matter. Yeah, either one. But you can email us. It's the easiest way to tell us. Keith, how would they go about emailing us?
Well, you have to get a computer. You have to get a internet service provider that offers email, or you could sign up with Yahoo or Gmail. And then once you create your email address and get all signed up, you would have to physically type out on the computer and send to our email address, which I'm going to tell you right now. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Every time. Beautiful. Just beautiful.
And then you click send to that address.
That's right. Send.
Yeah,
Send. Make sure you send it. Don't type it out and then delete it.
Type out every movie that you think should ever be revisited ever.
Yes. You can also like, share, and subscribe on all of our favorite social media pages right there at the bottom of your screen. Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and of course search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube and on Rumble. We're live every single week on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Thank you all so much for the love. Hope you all enjoy the Oscars this Sunday. We'll be back next week with our Oscar review. How did the show go? Is there going to be another infamous slap? We shall
I hope
see.
somebody gets slapped.
Ooh.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yep. Oh, that would be fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah.
Best Oscars ever.
This is good. I'm not looking forward to I
No,
mean,
I'm not either.
Every year I look forward to it even less. Like, I don't think that my expectations could be any lower, and then they suck. And I'm like, I'm not
They've
looking.
done it to themselves. Hollywood has done this to themselves. Until next time, leaving you with that bleak message and image in your head.
Go watch Dune 2. Something happy and uplifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go see it. That's your homework this week. If you haven't seen it, go see it before the Oscars and enjoy something in life. Alrighty, that is it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Y'all didn't stutter, so I can't say my name.
Brandon Davidson.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.